Richmond WLEE News Talk 990.
24th there. Because last night was the 23rd.
Today's the 11th. Yeah, the 23rd.
WLEE News Talk 990. You are listening to the Community Radio Show.
WLEE News Talk 990. This is the Community Radio Show. My name is Sirraj. I'm here with co-host Muhammad Hadi. You can participate in the show today by calling 788-0990 or 1-877-WLEE990. Stay in touch with us online through our website, communityradioshow.com. There you'll find links to our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages.
Good morning, it's Muhammad Hadi. Welcome to the Community Radio Show. Again, the numbers are 788-0990. I think we're having some technical difficulties here.
Again, am I still in? So. We good? Okay.
All right, well, welcome to the Community Radio Show. Sorry.
His volume was just really low.
Why is it?
I'm coming through bolsters and he was soft spoken today.
All right.
All right.
All right, so it's a Community Radio Show. It's August 11th.
It is August the 11th, 2012, and the 23rd day of Ramadan. Welcome to everybody that's tuning in. You can catch us online. If you didn't hear us the first time, you can stay in touch with us online through our website, communityradioshow.com, where you can find our Facebook links, Twitter, and YouTube pages.
And the numbers are 788-0990 or 1-877-953-3990. So we have a...
interesting show today.
Interesting, yes, because up until 30 seconds before we went online, Kohli and I were arguing as to, taking some stuff off the agenda because he said I'm rather ambitious.
For some reason this guy thinks that we can talk about, 90% of what happens in the media in a 1 hour show. No, it's not that bad. Killing me.
It's not my fault if your brain moves slower than
mine. No, it's like we talk about doing one thing. See, this is what happens. We talk about what we're going to do on Tuesday. By Thursday, it's something totally different.
Right, because genius strikes between Tuesday and Thursday.
And then when I come into the studio, he's like, hey, we had 2 bullet points, now we have 5 bullet points to talk about. What? Are you crazy? No, that's not the
seriously. All right, so what we have on tap today, let me run through the agenda that I put together that got sliced and diced in the last 30 seconds.
It may get sliced again.
Yeah. So first we're going to talk with a representative from the Sikh community about the tragic shooting with Wisconsin. We're going to have Dr. Ravinder S. Kohli on. There's also a member of the Interfaith Council of Greater Richmond. We're going to discuss the lukewarm coverage of the shooting, the Sikh shooting, versus the tragic shooting at the theater in Colorado. And according to a columnist, the reason that the coverage was lacking is, quote, because people who shape discourse in this country, white Christians and Jews, aren't Sikh and don't know many Sikhs. They can imagine themselves and relatives in a theater, but they can't imagine themselves being in a Sikh temple. And so there's some other articles that talk about that, and so we can discuss that. And the other item on here is whether this shooting could have been prevented. A few years ago, the Department of Justice announced monitoring of right-wing extremist groups, and conservative Republicans, particularly in talk radio, were up in arms, and they thought that they were going after religious institutions rather than what their intent was to go after, neo-Nazi and separatist right-wing extremist groups. And then the DOJ, the Department of Justice, unfortunately folded under the pressure, and they diverted the resources elsewhere. And so the monitoring, the resources, and all of that got diverted somewhere else. So I've been told that I can't talk about the other things that I have on here. So we'll leave that for next week. So as many of you have heard about the tragic shooting that took place last week at the Sikh Temple of Wisconsin. And so I wanted to, the first thought that I had is I reached out to the Interfaith Council of Greater Richmond and requested to have reach out to a member of the Sikh committee because, unfortunately I didn't have any connections into that. And so I just wanted to put a plug in for them, and I think interfaith dialogue and these types of things that gets a bad rap, that it's kind of touchy feely, Sirraj and kumbaya, but I think Bukhari's kind of rolling his eyes over here. So, but I think there's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying it's a good thing. There's something wrong with you rolling your eyes. It's a good thing because what it does, I think, is it puts you in contact with people from other faiths, and it doesn't have to do with you watering down your faith or anything of that nature. It's just having contacts into other groups that you may not necessarily have connections with, and you can reach out to them obviously when tragedy strikes, but as well when in the times of we need cooperation and working together and getting a better understanding. So I wanted to thank them for putting me in contact with Dr. Kohli, and he will be on, and I'm sure he'll talk about his involvement with the Interfaith Council of Greater Richmond, ICGR.
And that's going to be around the 23 minute mark.
Yes.
Roundabout. So second segment of the show. All right. So what are we going to get into first here?
Look at your bullets.
Look at my bullets.
Yeah.
Let me look at the restricted bullets. Well, no, I mean, you said about talking about the media, what happened in the media, but
yeah, I mean that's kind of an important thing to note, and also the question is why, like there's one guy that was pretty much like when the Aurora shooting happened, his Twitter feed was just buzzing with it, and when the shooting at the Sikh temple happened, his Twitter feed was buzzing with the Olympics.
Right.
So it's kind of like, well, hey, do people really care? And like you said, it kind of comes down to, well, can I see myself in this situation? And, how does it really affect me? Do I really need to pay attention to this? Is this really important? Is this some part of American life that I need to know about and some imminent danger, or just some one-off and whack job and, have nothing to do with me? That's a good question to raise.
One writer, I think, in the week said that the number one was that the media coverage was lackluster was because Sikhs are being treated as second-class victims, and I think there's truth to that. In that, if it's not, unfortunately, if it's not from the majority group, then it gets kind of pushed down. And frankly speaking, I think this should be more. This should cause for more concern than the shooting in the theater.
Right.
Because this was religiously motivated, and unfortunately, I feel like we're going down the path of these types of hate crimes, because there is this climate of fear that has been created, and the fact that he was out looking to shoot Muslims.
Well, see, and that's the other thing. That's a good question. If he was out to shoot Muslims, because that's something that they haven't verified. Because like they were looking at his tattoos and his background affiliations with the skinhead group, which I'll bring that up in a minute. So it's kind of like, was he really targeting Muslims, or was he really targeting, hey, Sikhs are over here. Maybe he lived nearby. He didn't like them for whatever reason, just because they were Sikhs. So that's kind of the other question. I don't think we really have a way of really confirming if this was a case of mistaken identity. Or it would, because white supremacy groups, they, if you're not white, they don't really care. They don't like
broad
you.
stroke.
Yeah, it's a broad, exactly, good term. It's a broad stroke, and that's a possibility and a problem that we have to definitely take into consideration. But I think when analyzing this, I don't think we should just say, oh, well, if Sikhs ever get attacked, it's just a mistake. It's kind of like, well, they're at risk too, just because they are different.
Either way, it's certainly not good. Either they're not talking about, either, he's right, they're not talking about it because of their, race, religion, or they're not talking about it because there's other things to talk about. Oh, there's other shootings we need to talk about. I think anytime there's a shooting like that, I think it definitely warrants media attention.
Right.
So either way, it's certainly not good.
Even if he wasn't looking to shoot Muslims, he went after, a religious minority in a place of worship, in a temple.
Right, and that's a reality that is kind of is always been there. The question is, how much do people really pay attention to that? In terms of the motivations, in terms of the frequency, because there's still things that happen in the media that we've been able to research that we've never heard about on this side of the country. Maybe some small group,
I guarantee you, if someone walked into a church and did this, that it would be wall to wall 24 hours a day.
Like a Southern Baptist church or something like that?
Yeah,
Something like that
it would be all over the news, and they would be dissecting this person. Well, I mean, what do we know about where this guy went to high school? What do we know about his family? What do we know? Nothing. It's just kind of been like, oh, he's just like, he was a lone gunman, and it's just like,
it's the best.
Yeah, it's very neatly packaged.
Right.
And frankly, it's because it's at some level the people that are covering this, they don't it's not considered that this can't happen to us because we're not we're not brown skinned and we don't have that funny thing on our head that that it's not gonna happen to us. But it's part of this climate that a few years ago when that guy went and did the shooting in Arizona. Remember, he shot Congressman
Jared Launer.
Yeah.
Because he just pled guilty to that whole.
He did, right. He's going to get life in prison. He shot Captain Gifford. That was viewed as, the climate that has been created in this country of kind of fear and the outsiders, and it's tragic because I thought we were getting away from that as a country, and that we were moving away from this notion that unless you're frankly subscribe white Christian that
See, I kind of think that the culture of America in general, I mean, has always included, things like this hate groups. I don't, excuse me, I don't think it's something that we can ever forget about and just kind of deem as not an internal threat or an internal point of concern, for everyone. I mean, we've created some very safe communities. But a lot of times, when we see something like this happen, you hear a lot of people first thing they say, "Oh, I never thought that it would happen here. I never thought that." And sometimes it's
Mayberry.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you just really got to wonder, how much of a safe haven do people consider, the areas in which they live, and just kind of leave the doors unlocked, basically, for bad things to happen. So I think in general, instead of, which kind of goes into more of my topic later on, but it's just, self-preparation and understanding the true nature of the environment that you live in.
Well, laws are just like locks, they just keep the honest man honest.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Is that code for self-preparation? Is that kind of code?
He doesn't want to say the G word.
No. See, in this case, okay, the G word is guns. Okay, we're not talking about guns, no, but we are talking about not living in denial, basically. I think that's what happens with a lot of people. They live in denial that your world is not perfect. You are not in a perfect little box that is impenetrable and nothing bad can happen to you.
Well, is it denial or optimism?
No, optimism is that, okay, we have a situation. It can go bad or good. I'm gonna think that it's gonna go good because of, my outlook and my preparation and my, my awareness. So I have a better outlook on what's going to happen. Not just, nothing can happen to me. Just
right. But I think that's what the writer in the Atlantic is arguing is that the people that set the policy in this country, the people that are at the forefront of institution building or policy settings, feel that it's a relatively safe country because stuff like this isn't gonna happen to them.
I would agree with the statement that we're a relatively safe country when we compare ourselves to a lot of other parts of the world, and that's a good thing. But nothing is 100%.
Oh, but I think that the trend is going towards the climate. The trend is just listen to what comes out of right wing conservatives as far as this the divisiveness that's out there as far as it's us against them as opposed to no, we're all Americans. It just happens that you subscribe to a different religious faith. I subscribe to a different faith. That's fine, and we have a different philosophical approach as to what we want to do on taxes, schools, it's all that kind of stuff. And the fact that I disagree with you on that doesn't inherently make me un-American. But what they claim makes you inherently un-American is that there's this perception that we've outlined this box, and there's certain things that has to be in that box in order for you to become considered American. Right? This is a bad example, but I'll say it anyways. Like going to the prom, right? That's inherently as part of the quote unquote American experience.
I've never been to prom.
Right, but I will. They're Chubby Chums over here. I'm getting tag teamed over here by these two guys. You're supposed to be on my side.
No. We're agreeing. We're doing good right now. You're good.
But I think if you talk to, or let me give you something else. Another one that people think that we need to liberalize Muslims and Islam so they can fit into the American lifestyle.
Right.
So if you don't drink and you're Muslim, then you're considered to be you're just one step shy of strapping a explosive vest to you and blowing something up.
I guess I'm close then.
Really? Really? How about what about all those conservative Christians that don't drink?
Right.
Because I know many of them that don't drink that socially have the same lifestyle as Muslims do. So how come they're not one step away from blowing something up or putting an explosive in an abortion clinic?
Right.
But opposed to Muslims, it's because what the dialogue has been, and part of it has to do with the absence of Muslims all these years in the conversation, because of I think sticking the head in the sands or moving among our own little enclaves and thinking that we live in the suburbs and things are fine, and having lack of participation generally. And
also, you know what? When you bring that up, that's another thing. I think in terms of having that the Islamic voice out there, Muslims actually speaking out. Sometimes you do also get the the characters, I'll call them, that pretty much feel like, well, there's no point in speaking out. Nobody's going to listen. They're not going to understand. So why even say anything? So you got that's an internal problem that we have also. So it's definitely important to speak out and make sure the information is out there and we have that opened up.
Yeah, the line that I tell my kids all the time is, if you don't shoot, you're guaranteed not to make the shot. But if you do shoot, you have a 50% chance. I'm talking about shooting a basketball here.
Yeah.
Okay? That's
I was like, you might want to clear that up real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Shoot, yes. If you do not shoot a basketball or make a swing at the wall that's coming at you playing baseball, you're guaranteed not to make the shot or hit the wall. But if you do swing, you at least have a 50-50 chance of making contact. So sure. Are you gonna get time to address every single thing that all the challenges that Muslims have in the community? No. But within your particular circle, you can come outside of that and go into the larger non-Muslim community, if you will, and participate in that, those kind of, activities. And not that saying that we're not doing that. I'm just saying that
we're doing that now.
Yeah, but for years, I think 9/11 was a wake-up call. But I think generally speaking, for as long as Muslims have been here, and for the amount of wealth that is in that community, I still think there's somewhat level of apathy. Which I don't think is specific to the Muslim community either. I think it's specific to the general non-Muslim community as well. It's particularly because if they live in the suburbs, that you get up in the morning and you drive to work, you go to the burbs, and that's the end of the day.
And then how much time we got? Well, I'll wait to the music.
I got you.
Okay. And I think another issue also, which I think kind of affects most religious communities in general, is that you still have a good amount of, I would say, the American lifestyle that is becoming non-religious. Where it's just like, okay, well, you believe that. Well, I call myself this, but I don't really, I don't really practice. I don't really know much about it. That's not, really my on my agenda, to really display faith or support faith or anything like that. So I think that's kind of another, not a wall, but sometimes some friction that we come across where people just don't want to really engage in religious conversations anyway and kind of get a better understanding of people. Because especially when you're dealing with Muslims. Religion, for the most part, really dictates a good part of how your life is structured and run and things like that. So, in order to get to know those people, you do kind of need to have some understanding of the religion. Same thing with the Sikhs. In order to really get to know those people, you have to have a background on what their religion is. And it's not that everybody's going to agree or, everybody's trying to convert somebody, but, we're all part of this melting pot. And the religious aspect of people's beliefs is definitely, a heavy factor in the American life and the American culture. So,
right, and I think they part of it is they view, and we think that in Europe is worse. The level of apathy and anti-religious movement is more in Europe than in America. But I think when they see a Muslim praying, or taking time out of his day to pray, then I think that's viewed as, oh, he's just a little bit extreme. Because why would he do that?
Right.
But it's
Dr.
not,
Kohli?
you know, being a devout.
Okay, sir. We're about to go to a break. But
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. We're about to go to a commercial break. The numbers to call is 788-0990, excuse me, or 1-877-953-3990. We have as your caller on the line, we will get right back to you as soon as we come back from the break. This is the Community Radio Show, WLEE News Talk 990.